The most dangerous moment in your financial life isn't when you're broke. It's when you get a raise and instantly believe you're safe. I'm Miles, and I tell money stories in a cold, clear way that you can actually use in real life. This is entertainment, not financial advice. But if you stay to the end, you'll get a map to build wealth over time, understand why earning more can still feel suffocating, and learn how to avoid traps that look gentle on the surface. When your income jumps, or your household adds a second stream of money, the first feeling is relief. You start imagining faster debt payoff, bigger savings, and finally breathing again. You tell yourself life will be different now, because the number is different. And right in that second, your brain flips into a new mode, the permission mode. I want to plant a small rule in your head. It sounds simple, but very few people are stubborn enough to follow it. The 90-day rule. For the first 90 days after your income increases, you don't upgrade your lifestyle, not even one step. Not because you need to suffer, but because you need time to see what's walking toward you. It doesn't look like a thief. It looks like a polite salesperson, smiling, asking you to sign just a little. In the age of dopamine spending, the thing that makes you spend isn't desire, it's exhaustion. You buy relief through small, steady purchases that look completely reasonable. Each one has a good excuse, so you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. And when you don't feel wrong, you won't stop in time. That's the problem. In the first week after more money hits your account, you usually don't make one huge purchase. You just fix your life so it feels lighter. A little change in meals, a little change in transportation, a few services that make everything smoother. You tell yourself you're optimizing because you're busy,
I've earned this.
because you've earned rest. Those costs are so small, you don't treat them like decisions. You treat them like habits. Then habits become your new baseline. And a higher baseline has a scary trait. It hates being lowered. You get used to things arriving faster, cleaner, easier, with less friction. You stop calling it luxury. You start calling it normal. And once normal has been upgraded, going back feels like losing, even if you're simply refusing to keep paying. This is where a lot of young people get trapped in the loop. You work more to sustain the new baseline, then you buy more convenience to recover enough to keep working more. You think the raise is a key to freedom, but you accidentally use it to buy a prettier cage. That cage doesn't lock with metal. It locks with fixed monthly charges that auto-deduct, and you don't need to do anything for it to hold you. If you've ever earned more but still felt your account staying thin, it's not because you're weak. It's because you accelerated before you built brakes. In the next part, I'll show you how to spot the invisible leaks that eat your money before it can become freedom. And you'll understand why 90 days of silence can be worth more than the raise itself. Now I want you to do something that sounds boring, but it's the moment you start taking control back. You don't need to be good at math, you just need to be honest. Look at the last 3 months exactly as they happened, like security camera footage of your life. Don't start with big, obvious bills like rent or a car payment. Everyone sees those. Look at the small, steady, automatic charges, the ones that disappear without you feeling them. You'll realize money doesn't vanish in one punch. It vanishes through soft taps, a little every day. One meal delivery to save time, one ride because you're tired. One subscription because there was a week you needed it. Each tap is a permission slip, and you keep signing because you're exhausted, because you're busy, because life is moving fast. Add them up, and those soft taps become a smooth, silent river, stronger than you expected. There's a type of cost I call the convenience tax. It's not written on one bill, but it sticks to every choice. You pay extra to avoid cooking, cleaning, waiting, thinking. You pay extra to buy back your time. But the twist is, you often use that time to work even more, just to keep the same system running. Many young people describe it as living to pay fees, once a month, every month, like a heartbeat. If you want to see it clearly, try a simple mental experiment. Imagine every auto payment gets frozen this month. Not canceled, just frozen, like a technical error. You'll feel uneasy, not because you're broke, but because the familiar normal disappears. And that's when you understand the truth. You're not spending to live better. You're spending to avoid the discomfort of going back. Once you see the leaks, the next step gets colder. You need to calculate the real value of your extra income after subtracting what it drags behind it. Not subtracting on paper, but subtracting in real life, subtracting effort, commuting, and the cost of keeping yourself functional at a higher speed. A lot of people think extra income equals extra freedom, but they forget freedom has a price, and that price is often collected in time and burnout. Picture a new stream of money entering your home and instantly pulling new expenses with it, just so you can survive the faster pace. You eat faster, outsource more, pay more for rides, pay more for anything that keeps you upright after long days. You start buying recovery, buying sleep, buying stability, buying the feeling that nothing is collapsing. When you add it all up, the extra income can shrink into a thin slice. And that thin slice may not be worth the feeling of being drained. This is why couples sometimes feel confused. They make more, but they get more irritable, more anxious, more depleted. Because they're running the household like a machine at full capacity with no buffer. You can have high cash flow, but without breathing room, you're not wealthy. You're just moving faster. And moving faster isn't progress if you're running on a conveyor belt that pulls you backward. You don't need to hate your job, and you don't need to throw everything away and live extreme minimalism. You just need to see the truth. Extra income is only valuable when it creates safety, not when it creates a more expensive speed. In the next part, I'll talk about the most dangerous trap, the one that makes you feel fine until one small shock tilts everything. That trap is when you turn two incomes into a requirement for survival. You start signing fixed commitments that arrive every month, whether you're happy or not, healthy or not, ready or not. A bigger house because you deserve it, a payment plan because you need it, a lifestyle because you've made it. Once those commitments lock in, you don't have choices anymore. You have obligations. And obligations have one brutal trait. They don't care how you're doing. If one person gets burned out, sick, laid off, or simply needs to stop and breathe, the whole system shakes. Not because you're poor, but because your safety margin has been stripped away. You're living in a beautiful home, but the foundation is monthly payments, knocking on your door like clockwork. This is where I give you a principle that sounds strict, but it creates real calm. Design your life so the required expenses can be covered by one income, the lower one. The other income isn't for upgrading your status. It's the shield. It's the buffer. It's what you stack so that when life changes direction, your family doesn't fall. If that principle feels too far right now, start with a smaller step. Isolate the extra. The extra money goes into a separate account, and you act like it doesn't exist for a few months. You're not doing that to punish yourself. You're doing it to create space. So your brain breaks the link between earning more and spending more. In the next part, I'll show you how to do this without feeling like you're living backwards and how to live well without letting a pretty cage hold you. There's a deeper reason why new money arrives and the old money still disappears. You haven't defined what enough looks like. Without an anchor, every number is just wind, and you drift wherever it pushes. You think you're upgrading your lifestyle, but you're really upgrading your tolerance, because a higher baseline always demands you run faster just to keep it standing still. The danger is that enough doesn't appear on its own. It has to be chosen. I want you to swap one question in your head starting today. Instead of asking, "Do I deserve this?" ask, "Am I buying peace or am I buying familiarity?" Peace makes you sleep deeper. Familiarity only reduces discomfort for a moment. Dopamine spending often wears the costume of self-care, but afterward, it leaves something cold behind. Obligation. You're not being attacked. You're signing the contract yourself. There's a simple ritual most people skip. You pick a baseline, you consider decent, clean enough, safe enough, comfortable enough, and you draw a hard line around it. You allow yourself to enjoy life, but only inside that line. And you don't expand the line every time your income rises. When you hold that line, every extra dollar becomes breathing room, instead of becoming a new bill. If you think this sounds like punishment, look directly at the cost of not doing it. The cost is living inside a silent competition where everyone tries to look fine, and everyone burns out. The cost is owning more things, but having less freedom, because freedom isn't stored in objects, it's stored in margin. In the next part, I'll show you how to turn that margin into a system that runs by itself, so you don't have to rely on willpower every day. Willpower is thin, especially after a long workday. You can't beat spending traps by constantly telling yourself to be disciplined, because when you're tired, you will compromise. What you need is a cold, automatic system that doesn't negotiate. Once the system is running, you don't have to decide anymore. You just live inside the rails you already built. Picture payday. A portion of your money instantly turns into a different lane, a lane that never touches daily spending. You don't see it in the balance you can tap, so your brain doesn't treat it like reward money. It moves into your buffer, into debt payoff, into investing, depending on your goal. But the key is this: it leaves your reach before you can rationalize spending it. You don't need to be strong. You just need to be faster than your old habits by one beat. If you share life with someone, this system does something else too. It reduces fights. Instead of renegotiating every month, you agree once on the baseline line and the direction the money turns. When life hits, one person gets exhausted, one person needs to stop. The household doesn't collapse instantly because you've built margin. That's when you understand money doesn't only buy things. Money buys the right to pause. There's a signal that tells you you're moving the right way. You start feeling calm when you see what other people show off, because you don't need to prove anything anymore. You start feeling light when you refuse an upgrade, because you know you're buying your future back. In the next part, I'll talk about how to spot upgrades disguised as needs, and how to cut them without feeling empty, so you can live well without being trapped inside a beautiful cage. Some upgrades don't show up as a decision. They show up as a sentence. Just this once. Because I'm tired. You call it flexibility, a reward, self-care, and then it quietly stays. After a few weeks, you don't remember choosing it anymore. You only remember that life feels uncomfortable without it. And that's how something that used to be optional becomes your new standard. I want you to notice a very subtle trick your brain plays. It hates the feeling of going backward, so it labels spending less as failure, even when it's actually saving you. It tells you you're falling behind, losing status, looking weak, when the truth is, you're buying your breathing room back. Once you believe that story, you'll defend your new baseline at any cost, even with debt. You're not spending because you're happy. You're spending to avoid the feeling of losing. The way to cut these upgrades isn't to cut everything, because cutting everything triggers a rebound. The right way is to pick a small group of expenses you know you won't even remember 2 weeks from now, and pause them for 30 days. Not to suffer, but to prove to your brain that you're still okay without paying for convenience. Once you see you're still okay, the grip starts to loosen, and you get your power to choose back. And if you live with someone, this is the moment for an honest conversation, without drama. No one is the villain. The system is just pulling everyone into a faster run. You don't need blame, you need one question. What we're paying for each month, is it buying peace or is it buying habit? In the next part, I'll take you to the most decisive point, where one simple rule can turn a fragile household into one that's hard to break. That rule sounds like a dare. Build your life so the required expenses can be covered by one income, not to show off discipline, but to install a backup generator inside your life. When everything is fine, you live normally. When the wind changes, you don't panic, because your system doesn't depend on both people staying at peak performance forever. If you're asking how to start when your baseline is already high, the answer isn't to smash your life and start over. The answer is to pull time to your side. You keep your lifestyle the same, and every extra dollar, a bonus, a raise, side income, gets isolated in a separate account for at least 6 months. Those 6 months are when you build the foundation, reduce debt, create a buffer, and most importantly, break the reflex of spending the moment you earn more. You'll be surprised how often desire disappears when you delay long enough. Because many wants are not durable. They're just emotional waves passing through, especially when you're exhausted. When you don't buy immediately, you give yourself the right to observe, and you start separating real needs from fake needs. That's when you stop reacting. You start choosing, and once you're choosing, money changes roles. It stops being something you use to prove yourself, and it stops being something you use to numb fatigue. It becomes a shield. You use it to create space, to buy time, to buy calm. In the final part, I'll close with one question you should ask yourself every time you're about to upgrade your baseline, so you can earn more without letting a polite trap take everything away. I want you to remember this. The most dangerous trap isn't reckless spending, it's consistent spending. Consistent spending doesn't hurt immediately, so you don't stop, and by the time you look back, you're living inside a structure with no breathing room. You don't break because of one stupid decision. You wear down because of hundreds of reasonable decisions. That's why people can earn more and still feel poor. Not poor in money, but poor in space. I'm Miles, and if you take only one thing from this video, take one question. Every time you're about to upgrade your baseline, ask, is this buying peace or is it buying familiarity? If it buys peace, it thickens your safety margin, it helps you sleep deeper, and when life hits, you stay standing. If it only buys familiarity, it will turn into a fixed cost, and that fixed cost will demand payment in your time, your health, and sometimes your relationships. Here's how you know you're moving in the right direction. You stop needing to prove you're okay, because you actually are. You feel lighter watching other people upgrade, because you understand that game has no finish line. You begin to love simplicity, not because you're broke, but because you're protecting freedom. When you keep a portion of your income untouched, you're not just stacking money, you're stacking options. If this video made you realize you've been spending your raise before it even had the chance to become your future, send it to the person you share life with, or someone you trust. Not to blame each other, but to look at the system together. Because when two people look at the same map, they get less lost and they get less tired. And if you want more videos like this, direct, clear, and without sugarcoating, you already know what to do.